Ladies and gentlemen, when was the last time you went out of your way to help someone in need? Was it yesterday? Last week? Last month? You might not even remember at all, and that's all right. Today, I'd like to tell you about something that I'm truly passionate about: youth volunteering and activism. Before diving into anything deeper, let's hear from the crowd first. You may scan this QR code for a Slido just to hear a few answers from the crowd. And in it, you'll find a question. What is the first word that comes to your mind when you think volunteering and activism? Don't worry if you missed the question, it's right there in the Slido. And in the next slide, a word cloud will pop up with all of your answers. It could be just a simple answer, one word, a few words. What do you think? What's the first word that comes to your mind when you think volunteering and activism? Kindness, making a change. Extrovert, charity, kindness, huge, kindness. Making a change, free of charge. Okay, I have no idea what the numbers mean. Helping, slay, kindness and humanity. Giving. Freedom, okay. Wow, big words. Humanity, helping, freedom, kindness. Helping others, stop oil, okay. Unity, fingerprint, cooperation. The future, selfless, very good, so on. I'll give you a few more seconds to type it in, and we can take a look at this word cloud later on. So as you can see, the definition of volunteering and activism is subjective to everyone, right? It's something that we can all understand in our own discretion, in our own way. So you can see, of course, the most common answers: humanity, helping, making a change, charity, freedom, and I see my name as well. Okay, no worries. So thank you so much for interacting with me through this, and I'll go into the next slide. According to the United Nations Volunteer UNV program, they reported that out of 1 billion volunteers globally, 600 million of them come from the range of youths. That's 3 in 5 of the global volunteers coming from youth. And many of these youths, out of these 600 million people, speak up and take initiative about many, many issues. The recent issues such as the conflict in Palestine, the equality issue, the climate issue, education, and so on. However, in contrast, in Malaysia, only 27.1% of Malaysian youth are actively part of a volunteering or activism initiative. As you can see, this gap is huge. From 3 in 5, around 60%, in Malaysia the number drops to 27.1%. Sad, isn't it? Over the past 4 years of my life, despite being at a young age of 22, I might be younger than some in the crowd, I have been part of various volunteering and activism initiatives. And throughout this period of time, I've come to realize that volunteering and activism are no longer actions or ideas that we assume it to be. The definition itself has been redefined today. So, before that, let's take a dive into what I believe are called conventional volunteering and also modern volunteering. It's rather different. And first of all, conventional volunteering is essentially what we call to freely offer to do something without expecting anything in return, right? And for activism, we understand it as an action or creating a policy that brings about social or political change. As ages pass, as times pass, these two things somewhat intersect. They are no longer mutually exclusive to each other. Volunteering and activism come together as actions that bring about an impact or a change to oneself, an organization, or the world. Now, as you can see, this definition has totally changed from what we have a preconceived image of volunteering and activism, and it's totally changed from that. Now, you might wonder how I came across this realization. Well, one fateful day in 2021, I joined a month-long volunteering project for SDG 13, which is climate action, organized by Isaac and Johor Bahru, which I believe for the UTM students might sound familiar. And of course, I was really passionate about that. I wanted to try it out as I just completed my foundation studies. I'm waiting for my degree results. And at the time, in 2021, I had the biggest shock of my life. As when I thought volunteering project, okay, I'm gonna do like planting trees, cleaning the area or something like that. I had the biggest shock of my life when I found out that I was volunteering online. And I thought to myself before the project began, I was like sitting in front of my desk, I was thinking, how on earth am I gonna volunteer online? Am I just gonna look at a screen for the next month? And yeah, you might think it's a rather strange thing. And this strange thing, knowing myself, drew me even more to want to apply for that project. And eventually, I was part of it, and somewhat fascinating that I was able to learn so much through this 1 month. I was able to create public awareness through social media, through creating awareness videos. I was able to engage with the public through speakers, experts in their field, and in giving talks to the public on the issue at hand, which is climate action. And I also went through a lot of learning and development sessions, L&D sessions, in which I was able to learn all sorts of new things, the things that we could do for climate action. And from there, I also noticed that volunteering also means learning small steps, small actions that we could take in combating the issue at hand. For instance, I learned how to build an eco-brick, which might be familiar to some of you. An eco-brick is a plastic bottle stuffed with cut-up plastic bags that can be as hard as concrete. Not sure if you've heard of it before, but if it's new to you, then good. I also learned how to do kokedama planting, which is house planting using 100% organic content, and you don't even need a pot for that plant. After that month, I found that there were 13 new youths with new passions and new spirits to advocate for the climate issue. And from that, this is where I learned that volunteering is redefined. Volunteering could be done from anywhere in the world, remotely, online, as long as there are people who are willing to put in the time and effort for it. Fast forward to 2022, I was one of those people who actually ran these volunteering projects in Isaac, focusing on the youth unemployment issue. And of course, the youth unemployment issue was something really close to me, being a university student and not feeling secure about my career path in the future. So through this, a very small team of mine, of about 5 people, and I were actually able to organize various talks, various events to educate the public about the importance of taking action for the youth unemployment issue. And in that year alone, we were able to reach 800 youths in a matter of a few days through these events. And in July last year, I was actually elected as the country product manager for local youth volunteering projects for Isaac in Malaysia, which basically required me as one person to overlook the entire operations of this product that I was once part of. I was just a volunteer once, and who knew in a time of a few years, I was able to be that person who overlooked the entire operations in the entire nation. And from all of these experiences, I came to realize some things about volunteering, which I'd like to share with you today. Firstly, youth can build up new skills through volunteering and activism. Remember the preconceived image that we had of volunteering and activism? We always think about people who are doing like gotong royong, cleaning, right? People who are doing peaceful protests or advocates, or just speaking up on their own social media platforms. However, through my own experiences, I do observe myself and other people around me gaining practical and valuable skills. Now you might think, people who are volunteers, they don't exactly go to do volunteering for skills building, something that may seem beneficial or significant for them in their academic or working world. However, let's just take a look at this example. In many malls or shopping complexes or places with large crowds, commonly you would see a WWF booth, for example. And volunteers at these booths will actually learn communication and interpersonal skills. How so, you may ask? Just a simple, "Hi, how are you? Have you heard about the recent species of animals that are endangered because of global warming?" This sentence alone would require one to be approachable and convincing at the same time. Thus, these appear as skills which are really, really meaningful to the youth today. Next, youths get real exposure to real situations. Just 2 weeks ago, I was able to volunteer at Positive Living Community Farm in Batu Arang, Selangor. PLC, for short, is a shelter for HIV/AIDS patients. Now, you might think that because it's in Selangor, they would have easy access to everything. They will have good facilities, they would have access, easy transport to anywhere that they would like to go. In contrast, that's not really the case. It is actually a really, really deserted, isolated area, far away from the main city, simply because these are what we call HIV/AIDS patients. And to see them isolated and deserted, it was really a tough sight to see. But looking at how happy they were when they saw volunteers going there and helping them clean the compound, clean up the area, talking to them, I just wondered, how depressing could it be to just stay here and see the same faces every day, and for some of them, even worse, for over 10 years. Now, how many of Malaysian youths dare to say that they could have an opportunity to see something like this, to experience something like this? Many of these youths are also those who claim to speak up a lot on their social media platforms on all different social issues. But close to none of them have actually been on the field and witnessed such a sight like this. Thus, volunteering gives youth an opportunity to understand the idea of the real societal status quo before taking further action that is appropriate in combating any issue on hand. And last but not least, youths get to build connections with external parties. Of course, this is common when we are volunteering with organizations through groups of people, right? Just like in my time volunteering with Isaac, I was able to network with other partnering NGOs, other partner organizations, and even the industry experts, those who are experts in CSR and ESG. And through this, you might think that these connections go like, it's just a simple conversation. I might not talk to you again for the rest of my life. I might just connect with you on LinkedIn and just leave it there. But I do know some people that actually turn back to these connections and use it to build their own careers, which I feel is amazing. Because just imagine one simple conversation that you've had with someone online, and it could be defining for your career for the next 10 to 20 years. Apart from that, when I was part of the national team in AIESEC in Malaysia, I was also privileged to go to Thailand for the Asia Pacific Leaders Summit last year. And from that, I was able to network with over 120 delegates from 20 countries in Asia Pacific. And some of them are even coming from the AIESEC International team, which is the team that oversees the entire operations globally. The most meaningful conversations that I had were understanding how they did things in their own way, in their own countries, in their own regions, but we are all fighting for a common cause. So volunteering gives a chance to youth to network and get to know others in the race as well. Although I do mention a lot about AIESEC and volunteering with it, of course, AIESEC is not the only platform that you can volunteer with. There's lots of other organizations out there, any local volunteering organizations, even the WWF, the Red Cross, the Salvation Army, UNICEF, the list goes on and on. However, we need to remember that the core, the true core of volunteering and activism is something beyond ourselves. It's for the greater good of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, youth activism is still much needed today. Are any of these initiatives and actions easy? Not at all. I'm sure there are some of you who say, it takes so much time and effort to volunteer. It's my first time, it's going to be my first time. I wouldn't know if I like it. I wouldn't know if I know what to do to volunteer. But for all the youths out there, I'd like to leave you with this thought. How can you grow if you stay in your own bubble? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bryan Yap. Thank you very much.